We're hanging out at Shed Row here in the Chuckwagon barns, and we're joined by Mark Sutherland. Now, Mark, tell us a little bit about, you have your dad you're racing against, you have your son Dayton now, he's out riding, he's been behind the wheel of a wagon or two himself too. What's it like being here at the Stampede with both of them?
Well, it's, I grew up here, so first of all, it feels normal.
Yeah.
I know it probably doesn't seem normal to other people, but I don't know what else you do the second week of July if you don't compete in the Calgary Stampede. When I was a kid, I was here watching my dad compete, and then I outrode. And now I've started racing, and so my dad's still here, thankfully, and my son's here competing with me. He's rode for me for 3 years, and so it's just life. It's just what we do.
It's the way it is. Was there ever a question in your mind about whether this was going to be your life?
No, when I was young, I started out riding when I was 15, and it was kind of a foregone conclusion. To me, I always thought if you had the opportunity to do it, someone would be crazy not to do it. And, some of my friends, HP's enjoying some straw.
He wants to get right in the shit.
Yeah. So some of my friends didn't stay in, some of the names like some of the Dorchesters and
Right.
and some of the other families, they didn't stay in the sport, but and I always wondered why, but I loved it. And so when I started driving, I did have a couple friends of mine say, geez, I didn't think you were going to drive. And I said, well, what do you mean? I was always going to drive.
Yeah.
So I guess I maybe didn't talk about it much, but in between sort of outriding and high school, and then I had a couple injuries, some shoulders, and did some surgeries, and then I came back driving, and that was a long time ago.
Your dad talks a lot about how the sport has changed in the last 50 years. Since you started, have you seen a ton of change too?
Yeah, huge changes. I've seen 3 different barrel patterns. They just changed it again recently here in Calgary, but I've driven on 3 different barrel patterns. The wagon, the construction of the wagons has changed. Certainly the quality of the horses, speed, the physical ability of the horses. It used to be that when I started racing, I think my second year, I had a great outfit, and there was only 2 or 3 guys, and Dad was one of them, and Tommy Glass was another one, and coincidentally Jason Glass was another one. So we were the top 4 in the world halfway through the season, and there weren't a lot of other guys that had that horsepower.
Right.
And now they're all over. Like, everybody's got great horses, and some of the things have changed. Certainly, some of the venues have gotten bigger. Calgary Stampede was always the big event, but I felt I saw a corner turn here for the 100th year. I saw things change. It just got bigger, even bigger than it was, and so each year after, it's gotten more successful. And certainly now the scrutiny that we're under, both for safety and which is, to me, it's justified. It's fine. Every event, every sporting event needs checks and balances.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with the backing that we have from the Calgary Stampede. They're invested in the sport. I don't mean financially. I mean,
Right.
The Calgary Stampede is Chuckwagon racing.
Absolutely.
There's fairs all over the world, but it's Chuckwagon racing, and so they're invested in the sport. They're doing things to make the sport better, and so there's been a lot of little changes that. They've significantly made impact on the sport. Some good and maybe some not so good, but there's been a lot of changes, that's for sure.
When Dayton showed interest and, I guess, what did your dad call it? Just affinity for it. He had all the skills there. Was it something, did he have to ask, hey, Dad, can I do that? Or was it just like, okay, it's time you got on a horse, started out riding?
Yeah, it's, again, in my mind, I went back to the thing that if you had the opportunity to get involved in the sport, I don't know why you wouldn't. I used to think the greatest thing in the world was, riding down the backstretch, you're close to your wagon, you're out riding, and the wind's blowing through your hair, and you're riding and smiling away, and things are going great. And then I drove a wagon, and I thought, these outriders are idiots. We should drive.
So much better.
We should drive away. And so, given the opportunity, I just I had assumed that he was going to want to, and he does. The sport is certainly changing, but you know, people adapt.
Yeah.
The sport, you know, as the sport changes, NASCAR's changed a lot over the last 50 years too.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, you know, it's everything has changed.
Yeah.
NFL football used to be a bunch of really big guys running into each other in mud.
Yeah.
And now it's the single largest, you know, over 50 years.
Yeah.
It's the single largest sporting event every year, the Super Bowl is. So, you know, changes come. And so I do appreciate the Stampede doing these proactive things. It's making my sport safer. Hopefully it's helping with the longevity of the sport. And so I, you know, I mean, and I don't know what I got left in me, to be honest with you. I've had a few, you know, injuries and things like that, and it's just at the end of the year, even I'm certainly not Dad's age, but you know, you're wore out, eh? And so I'm not looking for retirement, but I'm
Looking ahead.
when I was Dayton's age, I didn't think I was ever going to retire, but now I know that it's coming. I just don't know how soon it's coming.
Mark, thanks for sitting down with us and sharing a little insight into what it's like.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. It's Mark Sutherland, the high-tech redneck. We're back with more Saddle Up right after this. Right, HP?